What I do is to make porcelain vessels and then find places to put them, find spaces in vitrines, on shelves, in cupboards, up in the air. So I'm interested in the making, and I'm interested in the placing and how those two things sort of talk to each other, how that space works. If you're dealing with porcelain, of course, you're dealing with light. I was fascinated by this idea of making something where light comes through and you see the vessels changing as the light changes. Really as an experiment to see how, as the light changed and the shadows changed, sunsets happened. What would happen to your sense of these vessels, the sense of these objects up there, hanging above you. And now we're doing it on the Southbank, which is in another incredible building with a view through a window from the Hayward towards the Royal Festival Hall. And I'm hoping that people will unroll their yoga mats and lie underneath them for a third time. For 20 years or so, I've been sort of playing with, well, the posh word is vitrines. Vitrine is just basically a box with glass in it. And this was the first attempt to try and hold something up in the air. And as you can imagine, you have to talk to engineers. And the great thing about engineers is that they are problem solvers. So we had an extraordinary series of conversations, which began with no and got to yes through lots of iterations and testing. When you're there with this piece, Atmosphere, you'll see that there's different opacities, different kinds of glass used. So some of them are very, very opaque. You can hardly see anything until the light shines directly from behind them. And some of them are more frosted, and some of them are almost clear. The idea being, with these different qualities of cloudiness in them, that some of the vessels, porcelain vessels, seemed very far away, and some seemed closer. You'll notice that they're hung by steel wire, beautiful steel wire from a grid hanging above you. You have to ask the question, is the structure too present, or will it disappear enough? And we're hoping in this new situation that it will be present and that people will enjoy the concrete around them. This is the Hayward, for goodness sake. It's always a conversation. Architecture, engineers, how do you work with people to make something float? So I called it Atmosphere because I was doing kind of obsessional reading around people looking at clouds, people thinking about the atmosphere in actually the 18th century and early 19th century. I was thinking about Constable, who used to go up to Hampstead Heath and lie on the heath and look up at clouds, wonderful cloud studies that he did. And he talks about the atmosphere of each day. And John Ruskin, who also a South Londoner, talking about the clouds of the 19th century, about the storm clouds of the 19th century. And they used the word atmosphere. So I was trying to use that word in a very particular way, to think about clouds, to think about the weather, the change in the weather, and also, increasingly to think about the climate emergency, to think about looking up and looking into the air. It's a kind of contemplative way of slowing down and thinking about light, but it's also thinking about more generally about the climate. Not all my pots go into vitrines. They float around the world in all kinds of ways. But there's something very important to me about bringing things together and letting them pause, to stay put for a while, to pause something like this vitrine behind me, which is based around a poem, is a very important part of my practice. It's saying that just for a while, these objects are going to be in this configuration, and you can't touch them. There's also a very personal reason for this, which is that I wrote a book about my family history called Hayward, which was a book all about a particular family collection of objects that survived through 5 generations and survived the Holocaust, and it was kept within a vitrine. It was kept within a glass cabinet that was opened up, and these objects were passed around and handled and then put back in again. So Vitrines, a space where objects can be safe, or can be held, or can be paused, has a very particular emotional resonance for me, and always will. It's not arbitrary, this stuff.